Hey guys, so today we have a slightly different video. Well, not really, but we're talking about a beauty guru, which I do want to do more of. I feel like I have been talking about kind of beauty brands, but not really beauty gurus as much. I talked about Michelle Phan, and that was really fun for me. I think it's really good to look into people kind of that make the beauty industry what it is. And I think beauty influencers are probably the biggest people in the beauty industry right now, other than the actual CEOs of companies and stuff. I'm gonna try a few new things for you guys. I like to do this thing if you're new to this channel where I essentially try makeup or use my favorite makeup or whatever it is and give mini reviews along the way, but mainly just talk about the topic at hand, and then I'll usually just link whatever makeup I used in the comment, no, not in the comments, in the description, so you guys can get kind of like best of both worlds, like a bit of a mini review, a mini full face get ready with me, but as well as a actual topic you can listen to other than me just like applying my makeup, which is also fun, but not for me. Social media will be in the description along with anything else you may need to find, including all the links and everything. And let's just get into the person that we're talking about today, which is Mikayla Nogueira. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. I always hate mispronouncing names. So Mikayla Nogueira is a TikToker and a makeup artist. The only really new makeup I have to use today is the Charlotte Tilbury face palette that just came out recently, which is mainly just a blush and highlight palette. Oh, Phoebe's just sniffing outside. But it is so gorgeous. This is the lighter version. They also have a deeper version for deeper skin tones, which I really appreciate. This is the Beautifying Face Palette. It's blush and glow for eyes, cheeks, and face. I have actually used it on the eyes as well, and it looks really stunning. I always like doing like a monochromatic sort of look where like the eyeshadow matches my face if I'm going for like a minimal makeup look. But essentially it comes with two of these matte blushes, but what's really interesting about them is they're almost like a cream to powder formula. Like, yeah, it feels like a powder, but when you pick it up with the brush, there is zero kick up. And the way it blends on the skin is just super seamless. Like, it just doesn't look like powder. And then these two are these like hardly pressed kind of. This is more of a blush topper, but you can also use it as a highlight if you want. And then this is like a true champagne highlight. They both look like pillows. The only thing I don't like is when you rub your brush in there, the little dots from where like it looks like a pillow fall off and like chunk off, which is annoying because it falls on like my rug and my sofa and the whole thing. But other than that, really enjoy it. Beautiful palette, highly recommend, 10 out of 10. Amazing launch. It's one of my favorite Christmas launches, like holiday launches. I have also ordered Pat McGrath, but it's taking ages to get here. And also the way that Pat McGrath is releasing this holiday collection is bothering me a little bit. Why is everything being launched in like 3 sections? Why not let us buy the whole collection? I just don't really understand it. I'm personally not buying the whole collection because now that I've had, it's almost really bad for marketing because now that I've had the time to think about what I want to buy, I'm not buying everything. But if she had just put the whole collection on the website, best believe I would have grabbed it. So I think it's actually just really bad business. I'm not really sure why Pat McGrath's been doing that the last, I think it's like 2 or 3 years. She's been splitting up collections and like you can't buy everything, you have to like buy different and wait for all the shippings to come in. It's also so bad for the environment to send out so many packages when you can just send it all in one go. So in the first batch I ended up ordering nothing, and then in the second batch I ended up ordering the 2 5-pan eyeshadow palettes, and this whole time I've been debating like, do I want to buy the big palette? And I've just decided that my hair is annoying me today, and I've just decided that I don't want to buy it. Now that I've had the time to think about it and like keep on debating, I'm just not interested. I would have been interested if it was just all on the website. And also there's 2 face palettes, and now she's launching them 2 separately. So you can't even buy the 2 face palettes together, like you have to wait for them separate. I'm just so confused. In the second launch I ended up just buying the new limited edition, I think it's limited edition, the new shade of blush and highlight. I like to collect them. Mainly the highlight comes out every holiday collection, so I like to get it every single time because it's like a collector's piece. And then in the last launch, I guess the only thing I really want to pick up is the lipstick. I'm not buying the face palettes because there's repeat shades in there that I already have. I love the Pat McGrath blushes. I already know that they work, and there's already repeat shades in there. I'm just not buying it. But I guess in the last launch, all I want is the new lipstick, and at this point, I'm just not going to put an order down for 1 new lipstick and pay shipping for it. So I guess that's like business lost for Pat McGrath. I know she doesn't care about this like 1 lipstick, but like I would have bought it if I'd come out all together. But now I'm not going to spend the shipping and the time to just order 1 singular lipstick. Maybe I'll just get it if it ever goes on sale at some point when I need something else. I just think it's really annoying. And I know it's first world problems. It's just really annoying. Anyway, let's start applying primer. So she's a TikToker anyway, born June 13th, 1998, making her only 24 years old. I think that's pretty darn good. You know, she's done pretty good for a 24-year-old. She's from Massachusetts, and she has around 13 million on TikTok and 2 million on Instagram. And before TikTok, she had a Tumblr that was quite successful, but not as much as her TikTok. Like, she was kind of dabbling, kind of like all of us. I think our whole generation, like the people that are like in their early 20s now, we've dabbled in all forms of social media, whether it was Tumblr, whether it was Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, we've all dabbled. And then sometimes some of us have found success in a platform, and for her, it was TikTok. For me, it was YouTube. You know, everyone just kind of finds their niche and like their spot on the internet. She found TikTok. She also had a YouTube channel that was taken down, but like I didn't really know if she took it down, someone else took it down, I just don't really know what's going on. She then became a full-time student and didn't post on social media like professionally. I'm assuming she was posting Instagram story for her friends, or you know, posting like actual Instagram posts, but she wasn't like actively pursuing a career in social media. She graduated in 2020 with a Bachelor of Arts in Communications from Bryant University, and in college she was actually interning at a radio station. So she was going to go kind of into like communications, as in like doing a radio show or that kind of a thing that she was planning on doing. So she started graduate school in 2020 after she obviously got her degree, but that was kind of when the pandemic was properly kicking in, and it was difficult because obviously she was going to be doing like either online school or just weird part-time school, which is not what she was interested in. So she ended up not continuing with her graduate degree. And that's really when she started posting on TikTok, because just like everyone else in the pandemic, she had kind of a lot of time on her hands. And by everyone in the pandemic, I mean the people that had to stay at home from work or school, not the people that were like on the front lines doing God's work, you know, which is, you know, I think this is just a great time. Like if you had time, I think if you wanted to be a social media influencer, like the pandemic was really a great time to do it, because everyone was stuck at home and you really had the time to just like do whatever, and you didn't have to worry about trying to juggle a lot of things at the same time, which just would have made for a lot of TikTok stars and YouTube stars, which is what happened. I think a lot of people blew up because they had the time to. In December 2020, this is how quickly things happened for her. Like think about the fact that she graduated in 2020, started her TikTok, and then in December 2020, she won the American Influencer Award for Emerging MUA of the Year. That just blows my mind. Like just the fact that things happened so quickly for her is astounding. Good for her, you know, good for her. Now criticisms. I like Mikayla, but I do take some things with a pinch of salt, which is what I'm gonna get into kind of in a minute. And I don't wanna sound like a hater. Like I do enjoy her content. I think she has the charisma. I think she has a good talent for makeup. I think she knows what she likes in makeup. I think she's just a good solid beauty influencer. And actually the first time I ever heard of her is gonna be part of the scandal, but I'm just gonna tell you now, was when she did a routine for covering up acne, and it blew up on Twitter.
There's no question I got a lot of acne, but the most commonly asked question I receive is, how do you cover that up? How do you make it look like you have none at all and no texture? I'm gonna show you how I cover it up with no texture, no flaws at all. You need 3 products, and I'm going to show you what they are. Start with a sticky serum to fill in your pores. I like either the Ordinary Hyaluronic Acid or the Exuviance Radiance Serum. From there, you need to prep the surface of the skin. Apply a sticky primer. I like Milk Hydro Grip or the Ordinary High Adherence Primer. And finally, you need a pot concealer. It has to be a pot concealer, not a liquid. Pot concealers allow you to create sort of a spackle on the face that hides the texture and covers the acne, and it dries down. If you don't use all 3 products in the right sequence, it will not work. First, apply the serum, apply the sticky primer. Now take the pot concealer and cover all the acne. Now let it sit for 2 minutes. Do not blend it. Go right over with foundation. Sorry, did you say acne? Yeah, we don't know her.
And that's when I found her, but I wasn't kind of big on TikTok back then. So it wasn't really something that I was like interested in checking out. And then she started appearing on my For You page once I did start using TikTok. And yeah, I've just kind of liked her ever since. I don't particularly trust her reviews. That's a personal preference, because I just take everything with a pinch of salt. And I also am gonna get into a few scandals, but I just enjoy seeing what is being released, if that makes sense. Like I'm not like, oh my God, if Mikayla likes something, then I like something. I'm just more like, I enjoy seeing her receive PR, because then I am aware of kind of what's coming out and what it looks like, and I'm just intrigued. But I'm not like, oh my God, I only trust her like opinion. Like that's just not where I'm at with really anyone on the internet. Because I think everything is, at the end of the day, a little bit, you know, like personal preference, subjective, or a lie. Like at the worst case scenario, it's a lie. At the best case scenario, it's all just subjective. So now that I've had this intro, criticisms. Her first criticism is lying about her accent. Critics have posted different interviews and videos of her before kind of her popularity on the internet, mainly because she was doing that radio show, like she was working at a radio station, and people just found a lot of things that made her sound very different, and they claim that she just talked very differently at the time. And there is a subreddit called Beauty Guru Chatter, and they will kind of bring up clips where she sounds different across different kind of periods of time on the internet, I guess. So for example, in response to this, Nogueira states that, and I got this from Wikipedia, Mikayla Nogueira opens up about her accent. She says, I went to school for communications with a primary focus on radio, and I was going into broadcast or news or something like that. So over the years, I created this voice that I would use when I was on the radio or at my internship. Everyone has a customer service voice, right? So when I first started making my TikToks, I would use my radio voice because it's professional. And by that, she means toning down her accent quite a bit to make it sound more kind of neutral. She has a very as a British person, I sound very ignorant. To me, it just sounds a bit like New Jersey type. Ugh, I'm offending people right now. I don't know. She just has a very specific, strong, heavy Boston accent, I guess it's what it's called. Boston, not New Jersey, Boston. I'm just getting things confused now. So when I first started making my TikToks, I would use my radio voice because it was professional. It was my first time putting myself on camera for tons of people, so I was wicked nervous because my voice has been this topic of discussion my entire life, and I didn't know how people would react. Let's just say that. So I think she was trying to make herself more like digestible and make herself sound a little bit more just typical, like, oh, just, you know, your average girly that just sounds very, like, you know, normal. And then she, I think, just got bored of it. Like, think about it this way. She obviously had the hopes that she would blow up on the internet, right? Like, she wouldn't be posting these videos if she didn't want to blow up. So, like, would she then, like, fake her accent for the rest of her life? Like, that just sounds really tiring. So I think at some point she was just like, it, like, here's what I sound like. Which I don't think it's a massive deal. I think it's more of a conspiracy theory than anything. But I have seen people be really, really, really upset about this. And I don't particularly understand why. I actually don't think it's a big deal at all. She's not lying about, like, something really strong. She's literally just toning down an accent that she thought didn't make her sound professional, which is really sad that she thought that. I bet someone at some point told her, like, with that accent, you can't have a job using your voice. And she really took that to heart. Like, I know a lot of people will get like one piece of criticism during their life that just really sticks with them. And I can bet any money on the fact that someone at some point told her, like, with that accent, you're not gonna make it big. And she probably got really upset about that and changed her accent accordingly. So I don't think this is a massive deal, but it does paint an image of someone who isn't completely 100% honest, which kind of leads into other things. And then we have the next one, acne. So she blew up because she did this, like, how to cover up acne and, like, look good kind of review, get ready with me. And this was ages ago. This was kind of as she was coming up on the internet. That was, I think, her first viral video. So that went viral. Then she was accused of another criticism, which was overusing Photoshop fillers and Facetune. She claimed that she doesn't use Facetune because her skin has always been good and is good, so she doesn't need to blur. But we know from her acne cover up video that she does have acne, but you can't see the acne in the videos or the pictures, so then she has to be using some kind of filter. But then she's saying that she's never had acne, or she's never struggled with acne, and she doesn't struggle with acne right now, but we know that she does because that's how she blew up on the internet. Does that make sense? Like, it just didn't really, the excuse, I just wish that she would have said, yes, I use filters, like, that's it. Her videos look super blurred, and her pictures look even more blurred. Like, it literally looks unreal. It just doesn't look like something that exists in nature. So I just wish she would have been a little bit more honest about that. Like, that's just my opinion. There's also criticism, which I know some people have been dragged for kind of bringing up this criticism, and some people have been kind of like praised for talking about it. It's her use of Photoshop and quite clearly like Facetune or like the Face app thing that everyone uses, because there are so many, and I do understand that angles exist, like angles make you look different, but they shouldn't make you look unrecognizable, if that makes sense. And I'm gonna just put up some pictures. I'm not shaming the way she looks. I think she's a stunning girl, super talented, beautiful, but there is something to be said about, you know, how young her audience is. So I bet there are some like teens and pre-teens watching her videos just to get some like makeup advice. That's when I started watching kind of makeup content, was when I was like a teen, pre-teen, like 13, 14. And there's something to be said about how heavily she photoshops her pictures, because it is heavy. There was an interview that she did that wasn't kind of photoshopped, and it made her, you know, look normal, like just the way that she looks in real life, and it kind of like showed everyone just how much she photoshops her pictures, which isn't great. But I'm always on the fence about like criticizing someone for clearly being insecure about something and trying to like cover it up, because I'm like, well, clearly that insecurity is there from something, and I can't force that person to not have that insecurity and not act upon it. So I always feel really weird, but then at the same time that is causing insecurities for other people, because then they see her looking so perfect, blurred skin, amazing, that like it can't be healthy. It's just an ongoing cycle, but I never really know how to approach it because it's such a sensitive topic.
I was on the birth control pill for 12 years, and a few months ago I decided to get off of it. Let me tell you how it's affected me. Getting off the birth control pill after 12 years was incredibly scary, but it's one of the best decisions I've ever made for myself. I want to say it's been like 5 months now. So the main reason I got on birth control 12 years ago was because I had really bad acne on my back, and that acne is coming back. But I have to tell you, I got on it in middle school for my back knee because it was really affecting me in school. But now I'm not really bothered that I have acne coming on my back. It doesn't really bother me at all. So that's like one of the first things I noticed. So I do have acne on my back now, but it doesn't bother me. And I don't plan to do anything about it because I don't really give a shit. I have been getting a little bit more acne on my face recently, but no biggie.
So the acne story is all over the place. First she had acne and that's how she blew up. Then she claims that she's never had acne and that's why she doesn't face tune her pictures, because she doesn't have to, because she doesn't have acne. But now she has acne because of birth control, but then her pictures still look perfect. So is she now photoshopping and face tuning? It's just all over the place. I never really understand it. But like I said, some people just have insecurities that they don't particularly feel comfortable talking about, and I don't want to be the one to be like, talk about it right now, because you know, it's just uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable kind of all over the place kind of issue. The other side of things where I can kind of agree, and it is using beauty filters on TikTok, which are very obvious. Like if she tries to say that she doesn't use it, like it's so obvious to anyone who's been on the internet for more than a month that she uses beauty filters. I know what they look like. I think using beauty filters on TikTok or just any filters is absolutely correct and fine and a personal preference, unless it is your job to sell makeup, because how can we tell if the makeup actually looks good if you're using a beauty filter? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to be reviewing makeup, I want to see what it looks like, and I can't with a beauty filter on. That's why I take her reviews very much at a pinch of salt, because of this criticism and then another one that I will bring up in a minute. I like watching her videos. I like seeing her apply makeup. It's a fun kind of mind-numbing thing for me. A good break at the end of the day, but it's not something where I'm like, oh my god, Mikayla said she likes this foundation, so I'm gonna buy this foundation. Like absolutely not, because I do believe that she uses a lot of filters and it just doesn't make sense for me personally to trust kind of her opinion on makeup. Then we have a really odd piece of criticism that I just want to mention. Oh, there's a dog, not very happy outside. And then there's another kind of criticism that I don't want to get into too much because I just don't really care enough, but it's quite funny, so I'm just going to mention it for the sake of it. Sex. She's a very sex positive girly, which I love, and she does have a boyfriend that she found kind of at the beginning of her YouTube career. Not YouTube, sorry, I'm so YouTube focused that I forget. At the beginning of her TikTok career, who she has introduced to the internet, and she's so madly in love. You can tell they're just madly in love with each other. Like she's so smitten, and they are already engaged and they haven't been together for that long, and they've already kind of moved in together. Like you can tell that this is just like essentially love at first sight. Like they're just so madly in love with each other, which is great. I love that for her. However, people are making the observation that everything, for a while at least, was about sex. Like she would do a makeup review and they'd be like, well, now Cody's gonna f the makeup off me, and like it would be almost vulgar. Which is her personal preference. I can't sit here and be like, what can she say and what can't she say? She's an adult woman having sex and talking about it on the internet. That is perfectly fine. I just feel like some of it was a bit like, guys, look at me, I have sex. Which, I mean, I could say the same, I guess, about like Alex Cooper from Call Her Daddy, but like her whole podcast is about sex. I don't know. I just feel like I think people didn't have an issue with it because she talked about sex. People had an issue with it because she is a makeup reviewer. Like, it was giving me slight like Jeffree Star vibes when he would be like, and now, what was his, Nathan is gonna help me test this mascara. I know, it's just so like, guys, I'm an adult that has sex. Like, wow, well done. Like, I think, I don't know, it just seems a bit like, it just seems a bit much. But to me, it's kind of just like, I don't care enough. I'm not so like invested in it. Like when it came up, I would cringe a little bit because I'd be like, it's not like a natural way of, it just didn't feel natural. It just felt a bit forced. But who am I to tell her if she can talk about sex or not? I don't know. Some people did bring up the fact that her audience does seem quite young. So is that necessary? But at the same time, like, just because her audience is young doesn't mean that she's not allowed to talk about sex, because she's not on like CBBS. Like she's not actively choosing to make content for kids. So she can't really control who watches her content, if that makes sense. I don't know. You guys let me know what you guys think about this one. It's a bit of an odd one. Then we have something that isn't confirmed, but I talk about it a lot. So TikTok really heavily reminds me of the Instagram Explore page in about 2015, 2016, when makeup was on like a boom. Everyone was just shilling and selling makeup. I'm using this shade here from the palette right now, which is the matte shade, and it just doesn't look powdery at all. I love the way it looks. It is a super sheer layer, so if you are a deeper skin tone than me, you do have to go for the other palette, the darker one, because this is a more buildable formula. I think back then, like, we had those weird hacks, like how to use a fork to contour and all of that stuff. And then those people kind of moved to YouTube and realized that they had to adjust and make their content a little bit less cringy, less clickbaity, less shilling makeup, because people kind of stopped falling for it, because I guess like we've been in the makeup industry for so long at that point, like we were all using makeup for so long that it just wasn't working on us anymore, that kind of weird shilling. But like it used to work because we all used to buy the makeup that was promoted by these people on Instagram, and we used to do the same makeup techniques and, you know, the whole bunch. So I just think like TikTok now reminds me of the Instagram explore page of 2015, 2016, where people are just shilling makeup. Every day a different makeup product blows up and every day it goes out of stock. Just like the good old times of like Jaclyn Hill and or Huda Kattan. Like I just think it's that same time on the internet. That does come with obviously a high income for these people. These people use affiliate links, which they aren't disclosing all of the time. A lot of these people do not tell you that they make money from you buying things from their links. Like if they have their link tree or click my link in this and click my Amazon link, they don't tell you, hey guys, this is an affiliate link. Like in my description, it will say like I make a percentage of the makeup that I link. And that is me disclosing like, hey, if you don't want to support me and give me a percentage of the sale, then just like do it separately. I'm using this pink shade and I think it makes a very like a more subtle highlight. It doesn't look subtle on camera, but it just meshes more with the blush, because obviously it just looks like a blush topper, but it looks stunning. And then I like to go in to the highlight and just touch kind of on that cheek point there. Cheek point, like the high point of my cheek is what I meant. It just looks so wet and glossy and beautiful, but it just looks like skin. This palette is so good. And the mirror is massive and like the whole thing just looks stunning. The packaging is beautiful. It's like this pearl design, so stunning. Anyway, the generic criticism of TikTok is that they're going through the same thing as YouTubers were going through back then, back in the day, of not disclosing ads. And then finally the FDA cracked down on YouTube and said, if you don't disclose, you will be fined. You can even go to jail. And finally, YouTubers started disclosing ads. And now it's like really bad practice to not disclose an ad. Like you will get called out for it and you will get called out bad. And even brands, if they're not like a weird, dodgy brand, they will say like, you have to say that this is a sponsorship. You have to disclose according to the FDA guidelines. Like now it's not a shameful thing, but I feel like back then, doing sponsorships made you look money hungry, and people didn't really understand that that was like a source of income for us, that was like important to us, and it was good to have that like relationships with brands. It was like good for us, and like it was a good thing, and you guys benefit, we benefit, the whole thing. I'm gonna use this palette. I've used the big version of the Sigma Enchanted palette. I want to use the small version. They sent this to me recently and I haven't used it yet, and I love the big one, but I think the small one is even more wearable. I've been loving Sigma eyeshadows recently. I think the formulas are impeccable, absolutely stunning. It just seems like bad practice on YouTube to not disclose an ad, is what I'm saying. TikTok is going through the Instagram era where people just want to make money but not feel or look or sound money hungry. So they all just are like, I'm using this new lipstick and like you can use my link to buy it, but they never tell you that they make an income from it, which to us, people that have been veterans on the internet, like if you've been watching Jaclyn Hill's and James Charles's and Jeffree Star's for the last few years, we all know how these things work. Like they obviously make a cut, but these new 14, 15-year-olds that are just now appearing on the internet don't know this because this hasn't been exposed yet. For us, it was exposed by Here for the Tea ages ago, and we didn't know before she had exposed it that they were all making a cut. And now the new generation of the youth doesn't know it. And then they're gonna find out and there's gonna be a scandal and yada, 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 and it just and it just kind of is a full cycle moment, like a full circle moment essentially. So this is a generic criticism of TikTok, that there are a lot of undisclosed ads, and brands will send makeup to influencers, pay them to do a positive review, but then the influencer doesn't tell us that it's a positive review. And this is undisclosed, so like I can't say for certain that this happens, but like I know that it happens because I can just see how the reviews look. Like I can just see that it's an undisclosed ad because it's so really positive. they're hitting on weird like talking points that I just know that the brand made them say. I don't know. It's not confirmed, but it's also not unconfirmed. And people have said that they feel like, and this is obviously allegations, people feel like Mikayla is taking and doing undisclosed sponsorships and she's getting paid quite a penny for them because she gets millions of views. Like imagine the amount of sales that she gets. There are numbers being thrown around, like for example, apparently she charges 85,000 per post on Instagram. On TikTok, I'd say she's charging way more, way more. I'm saying in the hundreds of thousands, and that is a fact for me. That's a fact for me in my head, allegedly. But you don't typically see her saying, hey guys, this is a sponsorship. Like sometimes she does, but you don't see it typically. And I feel like she would be getting more brand deals at this point in her career. So people are basically thinking that she must be doing undisclosed sponsorships. But this is obviously just an allegation because no one actually knows what is and isn't what is and isn't disclosed, undisclosed, what is and isn't a sponsorship, what is and isn't an affiliate link. So we can't know unless we would get like the intel from someone, but I don't know who we would get the intel from. I'm gonna use this shade here called Budding because it's a beautiful pink shade. I was thinking about this one, but it's a bit much for me today. I love Sigma shimmers. They remind me of Pat McGrath, which is crazy, but just like a more affordable Pat McGrath. So if you want to get like a similar look of like that glimmery shimmer on your eyelids, buy Sigma eyeshadows and you will kind of get a very similar vibe for a much lower price tag. That's a little hack because this reminds me of the Bronze Seduction pink shimmer that I like to use. I'm gonna go into the Pillow Talk nude blush and just run it through the crease. This is what I like to do to just mesh things kind of together and make things look more monochromatic. I don't know why I'm tapping off the brush. I did that with the blush brush as well when I was applying the blush. Like it literally just isn't powdery, so why am I doing that? So people think she's undisclosing ads. Well, that she's not disclosing them. That's not something we can actually confirm, but it's a criticism out there that is, you know, making rounds on the internet. Then we have her most recent controversy, which is a clip from her like second TikTok account that she has.
Listen, you know, I'm feeling like a today, so I'm gonna clap back at people because I'm tired. I'm so tired. Every single day, I get up at 6. I spend about 5 to 6 hours filming video content that ranges from 3 to 4 videos, and then I spend a few hours editing that video content. Then I have to work on my other social media profiles, whatever it may be, Instagram, whatever. It's fucking meetings from 12 to 5. I literally just finished working. It's 5. Try being an influencer for a day. Try it. Because the people who say it's easy are so far out of their minds. Try it. It's not for everybody. In fact, it's for a very small handful of people who can actually do this job. Because it's absolutely fucking... You do not want to have this job. I'm just saying.
This clip came to be because someone was saying that being an influencer is really easy and she got really upset about that. Now, I personally don't like when someone downplays someone else's job. Unless you're doing that job, do not comment on it. I do think being an influencer or a YouTuber content creator is a lot easier than doing other jobs. Like, obviously it's easier than being a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is. But it takes up the same amount of time, sometimes even more. It is physically less draining. Sometimes mentally it is very draining. Like imagine being cancelled the way, I don't know, the Try Guys were just cancelled, or like how mentally taxing that must be. But overall, I think it's a very privileged job to be in. It's great money, it's flexible, it allows you to have a life outside of work. If you do have a good work balance, like if you manage to do it well, you are your own boss, it's flexible, you just create content on the internet, you get to try out makeup and get paid for it, or do whatever it is that you do on your social media platforms and get paid for it. It's a great job. I'm not complaining, but it's also not like, it's not as easy as just saying, oh, it's an easy job. So I see both sides. I see why she was angry. You know, it never feels good when someone downplays your job. Like I think if someone came into your workplace and was like, that's easy, like you wouldn't be happy about it. But I do think people look at the privileges that influencers get and, you know, are just very upset about it. So I see both sides. I see why people look at influencers and are like, oh, you guys are so privileged. You know, I wish that was me. I could stay at home, make good money, yada, yada, yada. But I also see why influencers don't really appreciate when someone gets onto their platform and it's just like, oh, your job's so easy, like anyone can do it. Because I don't actually think, the one thing that I do agree with what Mikayla said is I don't think everyone could be an influencer. I think it is very mentally draining and I don't think everyone is made to be an influencer. That's why not everyone is one. But it's not like a job where, you know, you're like saving lives or anything like that. So this was clearly very out of touch. She was basically just discussing having a regular 9 to 5. She was like, you know, I finished work at 5:19 and like, yeah, a lot of people work long hours for much less pay. So like this weird, like, try being an influencer for one day, like you won't be able to do it. It just felt very out of touch. So people made that sound blow up recently. This is actually an old TikTok, and people made it blow up recently because they found it again kind of recently. Sorry, I'm just focusing on drawing hairs on. And they started making TikToks to that sound about kind of how little they get paid for doing the same hours as Mikayla, and they would love to be influencers and just sit at home all day and just try and make up, which I do understand. I would, you know, that's a great life. It's good for Mikayla. Even careers like lawyers, etc., they work 100-hour weeks for a lot less pay, and it's a lot more stressful. You know, the job of being a lawyer, a doctor, etc., like it's a lot more stressful. It's a lot more like heavy on the mind, I guess. And people were just really upset about this, mainly because they started montaging what she said with her like hauls of her designer handbags. She recently bought a $2 million house at the age of 24. A lot of people can't even enter the property ladder, let alone buy something for $2 million. She's furnishing it. She has a whole beauty room, you know, the whole thing. And it just made her sound really out of touch, really just lost with reality. I think the issue is that it seems like she hasn't had many real life jobs. I'm not really sure. She might have had one or two, but she was a full-time student and then she was interning at a radio station. I don't think she's had like a very difficult, maybe that's my explanation for it. She's never had like a difficult day job. So this is her first full-time, like her first proper kind of adult full-time job, and it's a very privileged job to be in. And I think because of that, she doesn't have anything to almost compare it to, and that's why what she is saying just sounds so out of touch with reality, so like entitled and just like, my job is difficult, while she's showing off Chanel handbags, you know, handbags that cost thousands of dollars. I've seen at least 2 Lady Dior's, which are both 3,000 to 5,000 each. Chanel handbags, same price tag. She, you know, like I said, flies on holidays and just bought a $2 million house. Like, I just think she could have kept that one in the draft, even if it's something that was really irritating her about people, you know, commenting on her career. I just think that's one thing that like you just keep in the drafts. A lot of influencers came out and say that the job isn't as difficult as Mikayla tried to make it sound. Like, yes, it's mentally taxing, which is what I'm saying. Like, it's mentally taxing, and it's not an easy job, but it's not the most difficult job in the world either. It's just a job, but it's a very privileged job to have because it is so flexible. You're employed by yourself, mainly because she was working and making these comments during the pandemic. To be able to make money at all during the pandemic was crazy, but to be able to make good money during the pandemic was crazy. To be able to feel safe going into your workplace every day because you're working from home, it was such a privilege. So for her to even say that during the pandemic was absolutely insane, and it just didn't come across right. Like, I'm not sure how she wanted it to come across, but it didn't come across right. And I'm not trying to bash her, because this did turn into like a witch hunt where people were mass bullying her, leaving comments under her TikToks. You know, it can't feel nice to say something that is slightly out of touch, slightly very out of touch, but like, she's allowed to make mistakes, and we should allow people to make mistakes without it feeling like it is the end of the world. She said something stupid, we called her out for it, but then to go on like a massive witch hunt and leave crazy comments under her posts can't feel good for her, obviously. So I think there is a balance to be struck there between just going off on someone and like telling them, hey, this is something that you said that I don't particularly agree with. Like, I would love for you to educate yourself on kind of other people's jobs and how privileged you are. And I think that would have been a much better way of teaching her that like, what she said comes from a very privileged point of view. Because when you attack someone, you don't actually get them to see your point of view. You just make them lock up more. And I think that can make her more out of touch, because now she's like, oh, everyone's attacking me and I don't like it. Like, do you know what I mean? I think there is a balance there where if you want someone to actually understand, educate themselves, learn from mistakes, attacking them usually isn't the best way to go. And I know that sucks, because sometimes you do want to attack someone. Some people deserve to be attacked. Some people are doing illegal things. Attack all you want, but I think if someone's just being slightly annoying or out of touch or entitled like Mikayla was, I think there is room for growth for her, and I hope that there is room for growth, and I think we can be a little bit more forgiving, a tiny bit more forgiving, but I do understand why people called her out, don't get me wrong.
Is it 5:19 yet? Well, that's my cutoff time. I can't be making this video if it's 5:19, so I'll do it later. Seems like we have a lot of that we gotta talk about, so let's talk about it. The internet, man, you guys come in hot. I gotta tell you, that was intense. But I want to start this off by saying just the biggest thank you that I can give. The amount of support and love, positive comments, texts, calls, DMs, just videos and support. I have to say, you guys rock. And I appreciate the hell out of you for all the support. So about a year and a half ago, I made a video on a vlog channel of mine responding to somewhat of a hateful comment telling me to get a real job, try working a 9 to 5. At this time, I was very new to my influencer career, and I had just left my job at Ulta Beauty, and I had moved into my first apartment, and emotions were running high, and unfortunately I was having a shit day, and I made a video that I absolutely should not have made, and I regret making it. And there's a reason a year and a half ago why I deleted that video and I apologized, because it was wrong of me. But what I really want to say is it broke my heart that, you know, that snippet of the audio from the video was so taken out of context and so torn up that people made it seem like I think I work harder than everybody else. That's an absolute shit lie. No. Oh my gosh, no. Absolutely not.
Okay, so personally, I don't think she's a bad person. I don't think she's an awful person. I don't think she's a James Charles, a Jeffree Star, or a Shane Dawson. She is coming across as really entitled because she probably is really entitled right now, and she probably doesn't have anyone around her to kind of humble her or not be a yes man. And I hope that she grows out of it. I hope that she kind of humbles herself, and maybe this was the right moment for her to be humbled by the internet and kind of realize the way she's coming across, because I bet it's super exciting to, in 2 years' time, become essentially a millionaire. She has 100% at least made $1 million, if not more, at this point. So she is technically considered a millionaire in my eyes. She's just bought a $2 million house. Like, clearly she's doing super well financially, and this happened in like a short period of time. It literally happened in 2 years. So she is going to have a bit of entitlement to her, but I'm hoping that this is a learning moment for her rather than the moment where she like digs her heels in and doubles down. And yeah, I just wish the best for her. I think people have kind of disliked her because she blew up so quickly that she is bound to get the criticism. And I hope there is a learning point for her here that she can really take a lot from, instead of, like I said, digging her heels in and doubling down. I want to see what else comes from Mikayla. I do want to see her improvements. I want to see more concrete storylines from her. Like, she seems to be mixing up storylines sometimes for her own benefit. I do want to see disclosing affiliate links, disclosing ads, if that is what she is not doing, allegedly. I do want to see more humbleness from her. And yeah, that's really it from me today. Let me guys know what you think about Mikayla. Do you like her content? What do you think about the scandals? Do you think people are overreacting? Just let me know. Subscribe to the bell, like, comment for engagement, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.